So first, just welcome to everyone. Thanks for coming in. Anybody who's already in, if you would like, feel free to in the chat put your name and where you're calling in from today, or even what your position or school or whatever you'd like to others to know about you in the chat there. And in about 30 seconds, we'll get going. Yeah, everyone will get a recording and the slides of the call afterwards. So don't worry if you do have to dip out or sign off early. All right, it is, well, 2 o'clock Eastern, but it is on the hour for whatever time zone you are in. So I'm going to kick us off again first just by welcoming you all to the webinar. Today, we're going to talk about how schools run their reward store and some tips and tricks on that. I know it's back to school season, so welcome to back to school season. Thank you for coming in your back to school season. I'll probably say that multiple times, but hopefully this will help you get some rewards going. And before we kind of kick off, if you want in the chat, feel free to say your name, your position, or where you're calling in from, any of those above things. Also, some housekeeping things. We are recording this session. We will send out the recording and the slides after the call to everyone who's registered. So if you're watching this afterwards, thanks for watching and listening and tuning back in. And all of the slides, a lot of them have things linked in them, resources, tips, tricks, videos, things like that. So that's why we also send out the slides so that you can access all of those links there. Also, you all are automatically muted by Zoom webinar, which is nice. You don't have cameras on, so we can't see or hear you. But if you do need anything, you can type in the chat. You also can raise your hand, and we through that can authorize you to come off mute. Please don't hesitate to ask questions, and otherwise, let's get started. So today's webinar focus is on building a reward store for your school. It can definitely feel daunting at first, but hopefully this advice will give you some tips and questions to really discuss as a team. And my biggest and best advice, though, when people ask me about running a reward store, is to find the system that works for your school and that gets everyone excited. Because if you aren't excited about it, the students might not be excited about it, and you want them to be successful. So we're going to discuss things like putting together your team, planning your rewards, different types of stores, and even some free reward ideas. This should take about 25 minutes, and plan is to leave about 5 minutes at the end for Q&A. If you do have questions throughout, you don't have to save them until the end. Please feel free to put them in the chat. Jordan and I are both monitoring the chat, so we'll answer as needed there. And let's kick us off. This is basically that checklist there of what we're going to cover today. So your first step is going to be creating your team, planning your rewards, determining where and when to host your store, and also who's going to host your store. First thing we're going to dig deeper in is how to create your team there. And how to actually do that. So this is the first step, the who, right? Will your team involving the reward store include teachers, administrators, students, parents? Maybe you have a PBIS committee. If you have a teacher committee of people who really love rewards, and basically just gathering who that's going to be. I've seen it be anywhere from 1 to 2 people all the way up to 10 to 15 people. That's going to depend on the size of your school, the people interested in involvement, and also how many you want, because you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So, and also when you decide that, of assigning roles within your team, who might oversee the inventory, who might order, submit the POs, or even just oversee student involvement if you do choose to go the student involved route, and also promoting the store. You almost have to have like a marketing team to hype it up, share when it's available, and all of those things there. So that's your first step, create your team there. And now we're going to talk about if you do want to involve students in your team, how you can get them connected with your store. So the first few are, I would say, the most in-depth part of getting students in there. If you really just want to go all in and give them the full ownership. And the first one, is getting that, we call, one of our customers calls a live school council. It is literally a team of students. They have live school council t-shirts that they wear on the days that the store is open. And their whole job as this group of students is to not only hype up the store, but they've also decided, what behaviors earn them points, what's in the store, helping with the ordering, the stocking. Really, it's like, it is student driven to a T. So maybe you'll replicate having that type of council. They also give voice and input too. So they're not just store workers. They are a full voice into what behavior recognition looks like at their school. Or you might go the student job route. So I tell this story a lot about Antioch Middle School. They have what's called the Paw Mart. And the Paw Mart starts with students submitting a job application. They actually have to apply. They have to write out their leadership qualities, why they deserve the job, and then they can get offered a job at the Paw Mart. Paw Mart has multiple jobs. It has a cashier. It has a order taker, a stocker, you name it. The students even get paid in live school points that they can then use to buy things from their store. And it's just such a cool way of integrating students in a way that could potentially show them like, hey, I want to own my own business, teaching them those entrepreneur skills and just getting them also excited. And I think the thing we're shying away from too is when you involve students, sometimes it takes the work off of the adults, right? And really puts that ownership back onto them and saves you some time. If you feel like you're like, I don't want to run a full student run system, their buy-in is still important at the end of the day. So you could also just ask for their suggestions. Maybe send out a survey to students, ask them when you see them in the hallway, like, hey, what rewards do you like? What are you into? Getting to know them so you can really try to cater it towards their buy-in. Or even just if you want to start small with their involvement, asking them to plan an event, whether that is the school dance that's coming up or a bake sale or any of those things to really try to get that student ownership. Yes, I saw an answer in the chat. Slide deck will be shared after the webinar. And actually, speaking of the little thing for the slideshow, anything that says read more has a link in it. Typically, it's a link to a blog post or a video or an article that's going to go more in depth of what I'm talking about here on this slide. And a lot of it also tells real stories of all the people doing this work out there. And if you've been to one of my webinars before, I don't love talking at you. I like to get you involved. So I do put some questions here. And my first one I'm curious is who do you already have or want to have involved in the reward stores that you have right now? Type in the chat there if you have any good people helping you out right now. I'm seeing some PTO, some classes, student council. Admin team. Awesome. You all have got that step already figured out there. Awesome to see the PTA integrated and helping with that. So next thing we're going to talk about is planning your rewards. And the first big part about planning the rewards is setting the price. At the end of the day, you're building an economy. And as a team of really, the first thing, the most important question is deciding, what might our budget look like so we can then decide accordingly. And I will say I've noticed in the past year that there's been a big switch from a tangible trinket item store to student experiences. Not only are a lot of those experiences free, but they also kind of build relationships with students at the same time when you're talking lunch with the principal, lunch with the teacher. And so I have noticed that shift, but some still do, have the trinkets and the tangible items. And so first that starts with deciding, what budget do we actually have as a school for this? And then, how much does that cost realistically, and what types of rewards can we offer and really make available to our students? You also might ask yourself, you know, how often do we want this inventory to be updated? Do we want to stock our store? And that's also going to determine how often it's open, which I'll talk about later in the webinar. But the really big question I get asked actually at the top is how much should rewards cost, when I'm building this out? And so what I recommend, I kind of put that tip in there, is to start from how many points are my students eligible to earn every day or every week? And then kind of mathing it out from there. We all love a good story problem, at least, teachers do, right? So for example, like if students are eligible, they can receive up to 50 points a week. Your store maybe is monthly. So you could estimate that if students have earned every point they're eligible for, they'll have about 200 points come spending time. And then knowing that knowledge, you should price things out accordingly to what do you want to be easy to get. You might have those be worth less points, kind of some medium items, large items, and also encourage students to save their points for some of those bigger things or harder to reach. And I will preface, I always say, this is not an exact science. The pricing in your store might fluctuate throughout the year as you start to learn and start to realize, how many things are worth or how much things should be worth. If students are selling out your store, you might want to raise the economy here. And also if things are slow to sell, some of our schools do like a Black Friday sale come Christmas time. And I think that's just a fun way to bring real life, but also, deal with the realistic challenges of setting those store prices. And then we keep going back to students, how do we determine rewards that they actually like? And so you could survey them. Also kind of just ask teachers, what do you hear them? What's the buzz? What's the 411 happening around what they like? And also considering, especially for like a K-8 school or, have larger grade spans, are we going to tailor our rewards to different grade levels, different interests, likes, so on, and using these to guide what you end up stocking your store with. Then the next big things, we covered the planning initially, the who, but now we also have to do the where and when. So first things first, who's going to run your store? Are you going to go that student leader run route, the council, the student council, having some of your courses, leadership courses run it, which seems like a lot of you do? Is your admin team going to run it, parent team, or even a blend among those three? And then you have to decide, okay, we got the who, now what's the when? Will the store be open weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, and just picking the timing that works best for your team, especially if you have parent volunteers, PTA involvement, or even students. I'm trying to align that. And some people also ask me, they're like, Brianna, does my store need to be open for every single student on every single day? And answer is really no. I've also seen some schools that have specific store dates. Third grade can only shop on Wednesdays, fourth grade can only shop on Thursdays, so on. Find a schedule that works for you, but also find a schedule that it's not too far away that students forget about it. You do want them to remember that the store exists and keep connected with it. Then it comes, where will it be? This is, I would say, the second most popular question I get. How much should my items be worth? And where the heck do schools have their stores, right? And so we have a couple different options here. And the one is for the space saving school. And that's having it on a cart. You might push around the cart. It might come to class, go to the cafeteria. Next thing about this is going to be flexible. It can be anywhere you need it. You can also, if you are one of our Live School customers, you can have Live School on an iPad or on your phone and simply just do that cashing out process all mobile there. If you do have a space, you might, that's a clip actually of a principal talking about. I will let you check that out later. Talks about her cart there. And you do have a room in your school, maybe you have a closet or an office, or this was the paw mark I talked about earlier that students work at. And this is basically that location where your store is going to live out of there. But also in the digital age, I've seen some schools that opt for online ordering systems. Students tell them they know about Amazon, so we may as well just keep keep going with the trends, right? So students can actually check their balances in live school first, and then they place their orders through a Google form here. Those Google form orders go to one of the leaders of the store. It is then cashed out in live school and delivered out to their school the next day. Exactly like Amazon delivery, right? There. So for those of you who have a store or also are starting to plan the store, I should say, in terms of the when, like how often do you have your store and where are your stores located? Ooh, monthly seems to be a trend. That might be the happy medium there. Students running the store daily. Okay. Some people have some carts. People are going in the library that have their dedicated spaces. People are in the brainstorming phase. Also, don't feel left out if you're in the brainstorming phase. That's kind of what this is for. All the people who have stores are just the overachievers in the group here. Friday afternoons. That's a great thing. Also, this is just some bonus advice, and I'm realizing I didn't put in this. We didn't put in the slides, but if one of your school goals is to improve student attendance, I don't know what school doesn't have that goal right now. I've seen schools that strategically look at the day that their absentee rate is the lowest or highest when students aren't coming to school. And that's the day they open their store. Because then the students, if you're not there, yeah, they can't shop in the store. And so it gets them motivated to come to school. Food for thought there in that one. And some more food for thought. Let's do some reward ideas. So we have, I think there's 19 total rewards I'm going to walk you through. Most are free. The ones towards the end do require a little bit of cost. All of these actually have come from real schools too. So these aren't the ideas that lived in my brain. They lived in someone else's. And I just get to tell you how great they are. And the first one, Uber by the principal. So we talked about Amazon and also talking about Uber. This webinar is not sponsored by either of those companies. But Uber by the principal, this basically means that the student gets to request a ride to their classroom. They can use the principal's chair, any chair, and they get personally driven to class because, I mean, who wants to walk through those crazy hallways, especially if you're in a middle school? And so this is just such a fun idea that I think is super popular. And I was impressed middle schoolers are like so into it. Next one is the very important pupil. This comes from another middle school, and it's the VIP lounge. Obviously, this requires some investment in the beginning and then becomes free. They have just fun lights. It says VIP everywhere. Students can go use their live school points to go here during lunch or during a free time or free period, bringing friends, so on. It just looks, I would want to hang there, right? It looks like such a cool space to have for the students. Next one is, the principal will lose out on this one, but is cutting the principal's tie. And so doing this during like an assembly, a common time when it's like right in front of the public and the students get to come up and cut it. This is another one, kind of like the Uber one, where when I heard it, I was like, okay, students get into it, right? And really love those. Next one is one of my favorites, and that is lunch with an admin. I am such a big fan of things like this who get to build a relationship with someone who could feel so intimidated, and just to be able to go home and say, like, I had lunch with the school principal today. I think that's such a fun incentive, and hopefully you all then get to build some relationships as a result. Next one comes from Gulf Elementary, and they allow you to be the school resource officer for the day. And you get to follow them around, you get a badge, and get to learn how to protect your school, which is just another way to make an adult feel a little less intimidating and also learn what they do every day. Maybe they're raising little police officers with this reward. If you are a school who's jumped on the social media bandwagon, you also might offer an Instagram takeover. Students might film. In this case, I think it was the PE teacher who filmed a TikTok dance with them, and they got to post it on Instagram, but they got to pick it. Obviously, it had to be a little vetted, but just a fun way because we all know that they're they're on social media, and to be able to say that they were on their school social media. And you can tell Gulf Elementary is big on those relationship building things, like I was mentioning, is they have picnic with friends. So I know not all of us are located in sunny Florida, but being able to eat outside, eat with your friends, and choosing who to have your little picnic with there. Next one, I told a principal about, and she said that she might not be down for this, but you might be. And that's dressing the principal. So students can pay their points. I actually almost like the idea of leveling this, like, okay, so many points for the hat and the shirt and the tutu and whatnot. And that's what the principal has to wear that day, or the assistant principal if you have enough points to dress both of them here. Then, kind of similar to the VIP lounge, but this is the chill room, where students can, as you can see, eat lunch here, be able to hang out with their friends, and just use it as time to socialize. I'm always so amazed by how quick students are to just want to hang out with their friends, right? And be able to do that during school. Oh, they also have video games in here. Well, that's way better than the VIP lounge. Don't tell. Next one is a mystery box. I'll let Jordan play the video here to kind of describe what this one is.
Let me unmute myself so that you guys could hear it. Brianna, give me a thumbs down if you can't hear it.
Basic idea is in a box full of random things that you could potentially get, and it looks like he got a Chick-fil-A gift card. So I mean, that's pretty good mystery box if you do hear me. But that's also a good way if you have leftover items from your store that aren't maybe as popular right away, of putting it in a mystery box so that it feels even more fun when students get it. And I'm checking time here. We have about 7 minutes left, so I apologize if I breeze through a little towards these last few ones. But so you can have a teacher versus student competition. Picture like the dodgeball game, or tug of war was one that I still to this day remember in high school of watching happen. So just like a fun way to watch your teachers do something a little silly. And then lunch fast pass. So giving out, or I've also heard it, skip the lunch line. Basically just giving them a coupon to jump to the front, because who doesn't want to get their hot lunch first, right? And be able to have more time to eat lunch. Next one is picking your seat. So being able to choose where you sit during the entire school day, whether that's the teacher's desk, a beanbag chair, you name it, picking that location. And this is a good one for high school. We get asked a lot about high school incentive ideas. And so if students are allowed to drive to school, giving them a special parking spot, maybe the closest to the school or the closest to the exit, in case you have a very long line at dismissal time there. And then a rolling chair rental, because who doesn't love sitting in a nice rolling chair there? So whether again that's the principal's chair, the teacher's chair, but basically students being allowed to sit in that chair for the whole day. Then um, pieing student or not students, pieing teachers. Someone who has been pied as a teacher, this is quite something. But yeah, idea being you get to throw either water balloons or pies or you name it there. And similar to SRO for the day, but to be principal for the day, which is also another cool way to build relationships with some students and get to show them what you do every day and really understand and take the time for that. Next one goes with having free period and time to just hang out. I used to call this Fun Friday, and students are so pumped to just like chill and chat and sometimes end up even chatting with you, as the teacher or administrator and really just getting to have some downtime in what can be a super busy school day schedule there. Then don't forget the technology. We know that also could go with kind of having that downtime, but allowing them to play games, maybe it's in games with each other, like Kahoot, or I used a website called GimKit. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but it's basically like Kahoot, but has some other different game team building activities, things like that, that they can do. The final two are paid ones. They are not free, but they are just such fun ones. And this first one is that students got to cash in their live school points to go to Top Golf. Well, it's called Tee Shots, but basically it's Top Golf. There and got to hang out and celebrate, and it just looks so fun, even from the pictures there. It's like a bonus field trip. And final one hails from Freedom Crossing Academy. They do sports tickets. They're near the Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe. And so they have taken some groups of students there, even to some lower level, like local football and baseball games there. And before we jump into the Q&A, but also if you do have questions, you can also do that because Q&A is right after this. I kind of want to know, what reward ideas have you found that are really successful at your school that you think your colleagues that are on this webinar would like to steal or reuse from you? See, gift cards, snacks, art supplies. Oh, sit by a friend, popcorn party. Skating party. Oh, a silent party. Students take a survey, their favorite snack items. Another one I'm thinking of now that we're having this conversation that I heard from a school leader was talkies and tech is what they called the event. And so they had talkie, it is exactly what it is described, that they bought little bags of talkies and the students played games on their computer and hung out. Oh, song over the intercom, extra recess. Incredible. Keep putting your rewards ideas in the chat, but also if you have any questions, please feel free. And also if you don't have any questions, I know that we have only about 2 minutes and I believe in respecting your time there. So again, we will send out a recording of the call and the slides. This last slide here has a bunch of reward ideas, a lot of links. Please click in them when you get the slides. And if you're hopping off, I just want to take this moment to say thank you for coming out again, especially in back to school season. I am excited to see all the incredible reward systems you get to build. If you have any questions, please, we'll stay on. Pop them in the chat, raise your hand, or also my contact information at the end of this slide. Feel free to shoot me an email or a phone call. I am happy to chat rewards at any point. And also, when you come up with those genius rewards, please send them and let us know so we can share them out and really celebrate the creative ideas that you have.
Brianna, we did have one question. Would you be able to show how to take points from the store?
I can. Let me get the demo site up here.
Let me stop sharing so that you are able to share your screen. And again, you'll all receive a copy of this slide deck that should be coming out this afternoon.
So you can see my screen, right, Ryan?
Yes.
Cool. So in terms of rewards, so I'm going into rewards store. Next to every student's name has their balance in terms of points. And so I'm then going to select, I can do multiple students at once if I want. And then I double clicked. Sorry, I'm realizing that was kind of in the behind the scenes, but double clicked there and it takes you into the store items. Your store items might look a little different than mine because you do customize this here, but then you would select the item and then it will automatically deduct there. And if you did ever need like a list of all the rewards, you can click right here under timeline. That's going to bring up every reward that was purchased and the exact day, time, student, and teacher that helped redeem that reward. Let me know if that answered your question there. I know that was a little bit ago. They will keep a balance. In terms of like what shows up on the store, it's only going to show like their eligible points in terms of what they haven't spent. But you will still be able to see like your top student earners. That's in a separate, basically their points become divided in points that they have earned total and points that they have spent in terms of spent in the store there.
Brianna, it looks like we have a raised hand. Let's see here. I got a notification, but I cannot find it. Let me see.
I think I can, here I see Tasha
You
here.
have it? Yeah, I don't know if I'm able to do it right now because I'm sharing. Perfect.
Tasha, you should be able to unmute if you would like. And then Jody, I did see your question too, so I'll answer that there. Go ahead, Tasha.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, so I had a question. My school is at the beginning stages of this, like just starting this out. Would I be able to reach out to you, like if we have any questions, like with setting everything up or anything like that?
Yeah, you can reach out to me. You can also reach out to the support team. Any of us will be able to answer most of your questions and help you through that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I know most answers, and if I don't know, I find them for you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Of course. And then, okay, I'm going to go to Jody's question here. Okay, so having both Bronco, Bucks, and Live School, and any suggestion on how to keep track of it? I've seen this done in a few ways. The first one, I'll be honest, some people end up transitioning their Bucks to just being digital points and doing that all in Live School and just transitioning fully to digital. Some others have, it requires an extra step, but they input the Bucks into Live School so that it can basically even if you're still handing out paper, their digital balance is equal to their Bucks and their Live School points. And then some keep it separate. That is kind of where I think you're running into the barrier of, having the time to kind of manage and transfer. And let's see, I'm just making sure I answered your full question. Okay, yeah, I'm seeing the transferring Bucks. So maybe you at the end of the day end up just making anything that you give out Bronco Bucks for could become part of your Live School rubric if you wanted to totally remove the paper from there. I think there's also another hand, Jordan, here.
Yeah,
I just raised my own hand.
I'll permit her to talk. It's Erica Hall, the one who we were going through the demo site with.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead, Erica.
Hey, quick question. We have our first store on Friday, so we're super excited. So I see how to deduct the store items, but how do I name, like each one had like the specific as to what the store was? How do I name that?
So that's
Oh,
gonna happen
that
under
makes sense.
setup. It does. I think so. Let me know if I'm not telling you the right thing. But under setup and then editing your reward store, this is where you're gonna go to add any items or edit the price. So like if I were to do a new reward, test, 5 points, etc., then it adds it right into your store. Let me know if that answered your
Yep,
question.
that was it. Thank you.
Of course. I'm gonna delete that so I don't forget.
We have another,
And
sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was seeing the question about the sample student surveys, Jordan. That's actually, I'm curious, have we gotten any templates that we
Not,
have?
not off of the top of my head, I will be honest, but that is a phenomenal idea. So hang tight on that. None that I know off the top of my head though.
Okay. If you want some tips on maybe questions to put in a survey, and maybe it sounds like Jordan and I might collab on making one. Basically, I think I would just say like what reward ideas, motivate you, or what do you like? What are your things that you enjoy there?
Yeah, tangible and non.
We do, let's see, a student order option. In the platform directly, there's not from the student portal, there's not an option for students to order. I have seen some teachers that basically bring up their live school account and they have that student leader who helps the other students doing the redeeming. So that is a way to do ordering directly in live school instead of using a Google form if you want.
Hopefully that answered your question. If not, feel free to keep asking in the chat. We have another question from Andre. I'm going to allow them to speak. Okay. Andre, you should be able to talk right now.
Good afternoon.
Oh,
Yes, sorry.
no, you're good.
I've never used the reward store, but my school did think about it. I'm not sure on how to add every student in the school, and does the system tabulate itself? I mean, if I am Miss Dawson and I would reward John points for something, and then Miss James award John points, how does that work?
So students can receive points from everyone and it all goes towards the same total. So Miss Dawson gives me points, it goes into my bank account. Miss Snyder gives me points, it goes into that same bank account.
Okay, so every teacher is attached to this store.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't have the platform. Did you share it?
So the platform is called Live School.
LIVE?
And then school, all one word.
The school pays for it?
It is a paid subscription. Yep.
Can I know the cost? So I tell my principal, she should be happy to.
So cost does vary by staff. I guess also I can give you a rough idea about if do you know about how many staff would need a login? I can email the amount to you after.
Usually when my school engage in initiatives like this, it's a school-wide, because we did think about having a reward store. So it would be like 300-400 students, and the entire staff 25 or more, like tourist staff.
That sounds good. So I'll take that info and I can email you right after the call with at least a rough idea of what it costs.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Are you able to put your email address in the chat just to make sure that we have the correct one so we can get you that information?
Well, you guys did email me, but I'm going to put it.
Thank you.
Yes, Sharon, it is recorded, and we will send you the recording after the call so that you'll have that along with the slides there.
So
Awesome, Miss Dawson, I got here. Yeah, I got it there.
And there will not be a survey at the end of the presentation.
But if you do have any feedback, let us know.
You can send it our way, please. I think there was one that we missed.
Oh, I see it. Recommending buy-in from high school teachers and students without it being considered corny. So I would say that tying it to your students is honestly one of the first things, and making it feel age appropriate, of doing things like the parking space, the jump to the front of the lunch line, and also even it comes down to like what behaviors they're being recognized for, of making it like some of our high schools even go more the college and career route, like applying to college gets you points, doing your FAFSA gets you points. It's like, and even just those older level career skills of, showing up on time, turning in your work, and just like building a mature system because you want it to feel mature and not like corny or childish.
Another question. I was looking, there is a seafold summary, and I clicked on the link, and then like I'm using a Board of Education, my computer, and it does not allow the live school you share with me. Is it something that many educational departments are using, that I may not get any trouble
I
accessing?
think what that is in the chat was that someone had their own personal recording.
Oh, okay, okay,
We'll send you a written actual one after
Okay.
the call. So you can disregard the CFL summary
okay.
there.
So the live school, is it an app or?
It's an app and computer-based
all right.
platform. Yep.
Okay, so if we pay for that, we should be fine. All righty.
We are also a New York City vendor.
All right, cool.
I'll be sending you an email myself, so
Okay.
don't worry. We'll chat.
Yeah, I'm really appreciative of this PD, because many times I'm asked to well, not really asked. We did a participatory budgeting in which we were awarded $2,500 to start a school store. The students did come up with what they like to have. They chose the store and the items and stuff like that. But then I was thinking of like a physical store, and they did purchase a refrigerator, snacks, blah, blah, blah. But it was too much of a manual initiative that I could not manage and work doing instruction. So it really fell through, but I really appreciate what was shared here this afternoon. I think that I can move forward because it's easy to get other hands to embrace, to support me as I move forward.
Yeah, it's nice when you have something to help keep track of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that you came.
Thank you. Yeah. College school stores before, they were so thoughts and the initiatives were needed so much labor force. Like doing it manually, and the ideas for a school store are awesome. It's less of manual, less labor intensive. And the ideas are awesome. Anybody could run with it. And with these, it can involve 90% of the school population without much stress, school.
That's the goal. We don't need anyone to stress.
Yeah, we have enough.
Oh, I also
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks. I saw a question from Sharon about, can you just have a school store, or is it recommended for each teacher to have a store? And I think you could do both, or whatever works best for you. Honestly, I sometimes I feel like I push it back on you all to decide, like ask yourself as a school, like, do teachers feel like they want to have that full autonomy? Do they have the time to run their individual stores, or would it be easier to just have one store they could take their class to, they can attend, and then it's just basically that one-stop shop instead of the individual there? Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I think as a school, it builds a school culture rather than an individual teacher, taking on that initiative.
And last call for any questions that anybody has. I still see a couple of people still here, so if you have any questions